The mysterious bride. The village of Nyambani sat between the great emerald forest and the flowing river Mboli. Birds sang in the morning, and the scent of fresh flowers filled the air. The villagers were happy people, working together in harmony. Life was simple, yet full of love and laughter. In the heart of Nyambani lived a young woman named Zola. She was the jewel of the village, beautiful, kind, and wise beyond her years. Her dark skin shimmered like polished ebony under the sun, and her deep brown eyes held a warmth that could soothe even the most troubled soul. She moved gracefully, her every step as light as the wind, and her laughter brought joy to all who heard it. But there was something else about Zola, something unspoken. The village loved her, but deep down, many whispered about the mystery of her origins. She had no father, and her mother, Nia, never spoke of the day she was born. Some said Nia had found her as a baby near the Forbidden River, a place where spirits were said to dwell. Others believed she was simply blessed by the gods, a child of fortune. A warrior's arrival. One evening, as the sun painted the sky in hues of orange and gold, a stranger arrived in the village. He was a tall, strong man with broad shoulders and eyes that held the wisdom of many journeys. His name was Kwame, a warrior known across the land for his bravery. He had fought battles against enemies, tamed wild beasts, and survived the harshest lands. The moment Kwame laid eyes on Zola, he knew she was the one. She was unlike any woman he had ever seen, and his heart spoke before his mind could think. He had to make her his wife. The next morning, he approached Chief Teferi, the leader of Nyambani, and bowed before him. "Great Chief," Kwame said, his voice strong and steady. "I have traveled far and wide, but never have I seen a woman like Zola. I ask for her hand in marriage." The chief stroked his beard, studying the warrior. He was a wise leader who cared deeply for his people, and he would not give away Zola's hand so easily. "You come with strong words, Kwame," he said. "But marriage is not won with words alone. Zola is loved by this village. Do you have the heart to love and protect her?" Kwame nodded. "With my life." "The wedding preparations?" The chief smiled. "Then let it be so." The village erupted in joy. A wedding was a time of celebration, and soon preparations were in full swing. Women wore fine garments from the softest fabric, elders prepared gifts, and hunters brought in the best meats for the feast. Zola, however, remained silent. She smiled, yet there was a distant look in her eyes, as if a shadow lingered over her heart. When she was alone, she walked to the river's edge, staring into its depths. The water rippled, and for a moment, it seemed as if something stirred beneath the surface, something calling to her. The elders' warning. As the wedding day drew closer, an old village elder, Baba Jomo, approached Chief Teferi. His wrinkled face was filled with worry. "Chief," he whispered, "something is not right." The chief frowned. "What troubles you, old one?" Baba Jomo shook his head. "I have watched Zola since she was a child. There is a mystery about her that we have ignored for too long. Strange things happen when she is near. The river sings when she walks by, animals bow their heads in her presence, and she has never been ill, not even once." The chief sighed. "She is special, Baba Jomo, that much we know. But is it not a blessing?" The elder's voice grew quiet. "Or is it a warning?" But the village was too caught up in the wedding excitement to listen to an old man's fears. The drums beat louder, the fires burned brighter, and the people danced under the moonlight. Yet, in the silence of the night, beneath the dark canopy of trees, the wind whispered a different story. A secret waited to be revealed, one that would change everything. And the wedding day would bring the truth to light. Whispers of the past. The village of Nyambani hummed with excitement as the wedding day drew closer. Women braided each other's hair with golden beads, children ran through the fields playing games, and the men prepared a grand feast of roasted meat and sweet fruits. The air was filled with the rhythm of drums and the scent of burning incense. Yet, beneath the joy, a quiet tension stirred. The Elder's Tale. On the night before the wedding, Baba Jomo, the oldest man in the village, sat before the chief's hut, his face lit by the flickering flames of the fire. A group of elders gathered around him, their expression serious. "I have kept quiet for too long," Baba Jomo said, his voice trembling with age. "But the time for silence has passed." Chief Tafari sat beside him, listening carefully. "Speak, old one. What troubles your heart?" Baba Jomo took a deep breath. "Long ago, before many of you were born, I walked near the forbidden river on a night much like this. The moon was full, and the waters were still. And then, I saw her." The elders leaned in, their eyes wide. "I saw Nia, Zola's mother. She was standing by the river, but she was not alone." He paused. "She was holding a baby." Gasps rippled through the group. "That baby was Zola." Chief Tafari frowned. "What is strange about that? Mothers go to the river often." Baba Jomo shook his head. "No. The baby was not hers." A chill ran through the elders. "I saw it with my own eyes," Baba Jomo continued. "Nia did not give birth to Zola. She found her by the river, wrapped in silk cloth. And as she reached for the child, the waters behind her began to glow, and a voice, soft as the wind, whispered her name." A heavy silence fell over the group. The mystery of Zola. It was no secret that Zola was different. The villagers loved her, but strange things happened when she was near. Birds landed on her shoulders without fear. Wild dogs bowed their heads in her presence. She never suffered from sickness, nor did she bleed from a single cut. Some whispered that she was blessed, while others feared she was something else entirely. Chief Tafari turned toward Baba Jomo. "You believe she is a child of the river spirits?" "I do not know what she is," the elder admitted. "But we should be cautious. Her wedding day may reveal a truth we are not ready for." A mother's love. The next morning, the elders went to Nia's hut. She was grinding millet, humming a soft tune. When she saw their serious faces, she wiped her hands and sighed. "I know why you have come," she said. Baba Jomo stepped forward. "You have hidden the truth for years, Nia. Tell us now, where did Zola truly come from?" Nia's eyes softened. "Does it matter?" she asked. "I raised her as my own. She is my daughter in every way that matters." "The people deserve to know," Chief Tafari said gently. "Is she human? Or is she something else?" Nia lifted her chin. "She is Zola," she said firmly. "She is kind, wise, and full of love. Does it matter where she came from if her heart is pure?" Baba Jomo frowned. "Love is strong, Nia, but so is fate. If she is meant for something beyond this world, we must be prepared." Nia's face darkened. "She deserves happiness. She deserves to be loved. And I will not let fear take that from her." The elders exchanged uneasy glances, but what could they do? The wedding was already set. The entire village was preparing to celebrate. Stopping it now would bring confusion and unrest. The growing tension. As the day passed, whispers spread among the villagers. Some had overheard the elders talking, and soon, rumors began to swirl. She was found by the forbidden river. She never gets sick, never bleeds. The spirits watch over her. What if she is not one of us? Zola noticed the wary glances, the hesitant smiles. Though no one said it aloud, she felt it, the unspoken questions, the quiet doubts. That evening, she walked alone to the edge of the river, staring into the dark water. The moon reflected upon its surface, and for a moment, she saw something move beneath. A whisper drifted through the air, soft and gentle. "Zola, it is almost time." She shivered, wrapping her arms around herself. Tomorrow would be her wedding day. Tomorrow, everything would change, the wedding day revelation. The morning of Zola and Kwame's wedding arrived with the golden glow of dawn spilling over the village. Women adorned themselves in bright, flowing fabrics, their hair decorated with beads that clicked softly as they moved. Men drummed their hands against hollowed logs, filling the air with the rhythm of celebration. The entire village had gathered in the great clearing, where the wedding was set to take place beneath the baobab tree of ancestors, a sacred place where vows were made and destiny sealed. The bride and groom. Zola stood inside her mother's hut, dressed in a stunning gown woven from the finest silk. Beads of gold and coral wrapped around her neck, catching the morning light. Yet, her hands trembled as she adjusted her bracelets. Nia noticed her unease. "You are beautiful, my daughter," she said softly, cupping Zola's face. "Today, you will become a wife, and the gods will bless your union." Zola tried to smile, but the words of Baba Jomo echoed in her mind. What if she was not meant to marry? What if the wedding revealed something terrible? "Come, my child. It is time," Nia urged. Outside, Kwame stood tall and proud in his warrior's attire, a sash of deep red tied around his waist. He was a man of great strength, yet his heart pounded like the beating of the village drums. The moment he saw Zola step into the light, he forgot his fears. She was radiant. Her beauty, her grace, it was like she had been crafted by the gods themselves. The people cheered as she approached, walking slowly toward Kwame, her husband-to-be. A sudden darkness. The elders gathered beneath the baobab tree, ready to bless the union. Chief Teferi raised his staff, signaling for silence. "Today," he announced, "we witness the sacred bond between two souls. May their love bring peace, and may the spirits of our ancestors watch over them." The villagers clapped and cheered. The wedding was perfect. Until the sky changed. Without warning, the bright sun dimmed. Dark clouds gathered above, swirling like ink in water. A cold wind rushed through the village, sending shivers down everyone's spine. The air grew heavy, thick with an unseen force. The drummers paused. The dancers stilled. Even the birds in the trees fell silent. Zola gasped, her chest tightening. A strange heat surged through her veins, and suddenly, she couldn't breathe. The transformation. Pain exploded through her body. She clutched her arms, her skin burning, her bones twisting. "Zola!" Kwame reached for her, but she stumbled back, her fingers clawing at her chest. A terrible hissing sound filled the air. The villagers watched in horror as Zola's skin began to shift. The deep brown of her flesh rippled, turning smooth, shining scales. Her fingers curled, sharpening into claws. Her dark eyes glowed golden, slitted like a serpent's. She fell to the ground, convulsing. And then, her body lengthened, stretching, growing. Her legs fused together, her arms disappearing. Before their eyes, the beautiful bride became something else entirely. A massive serpent, its golden scales reflecting the dim light, lay where Zola had once stood. Its eyes, her eyes, gleamed, filled with fear, pain, and something else, ancient power. The village in chaos. Screams rang through the air. Women clutched their children, dragging them away in terror. Warriors reached for their spears, but none dared to step forward. "What evil is this?" someone cried. "She is cursed," another shouted. Chief Teferi's face was pale. Even Baba Jomo, who had warned them, looked shaken. Only one person stood frozen, Kwame. His bride, the woman he had loved, was gone. In her place lay a monstrous serpent, coiled beneath the baobab tree. Yet, as the villagers fled in fear, Zola's golden eyes locked onto his. And in them, he saw something that no one else did. Pain. Fear. Love. She had not chosen this. She was still Zola. His Zola. The question was, would he still love her? The curse unveiled. The village had never been so silent. The golden serpent that had once been Zola lay coiled beneath the sacred baobab tree, her glowing eyes scanning the terrified faces of her people. She wanted to speak, to explain, to tell them that she was still herself. But only a low, rumbling hiss escaped her mouth. Then a spear flew through the air. It struck the ground inches from her shimmering scales. Zola flinched. The warriors had raised their weapons. The people who had once cheered for her were now cowering in fear. She is a demon, someone cried. She has deceived us all, another shouted. Nia, her mother, had fallen to her knees, tears streaming down her face. No, my daughter. Zola turned her great head toward Kwame. Would he reject her too? Kwame stood frozen, his heart pounding. He had fought many battles, faced many dangers, but nothing had prepared him for this. The woman he loved was gone, replaced by a creature from nightmares. And yet, when he looked into Zola's golden eyes, he saw her. The same eyes that had once smiled at him. The same eyes that had looked at him with love. But then, Baba Jomo, the village elder, stepped forward. The elder's revelation. It is as I feared, Baba Jomo said, his voice heavy with sorrow. All eyes turned to him. He raised his aged, wrinkled hands, pointing toward the trembling serpent. She was never truly one of us. Gasps filled the air. What do you mean? Chief Tafari demanded. The old man sighed. Zola's mother, Nia, found her as a child near the Forbidden River. That place is not meant for mortals, it is where the ancient spirits dwell. Whispers spread through the crowd. Baba Jomo continued, his voice filled with regret. She is not a child of man. She is the daughter of an ancient spirit, a being of the hidden world. Such creatures can take human form, but only until their moment of truth. The wedding day, Kwame whispered. Baba Jomo nodded gravely. Her union with you has unveiled her true self. The magic that kept her hidden is now broken. The villagers stared in horror at the enormous serpent lying before them. She tricked us, a woman screamed. We must drive her away. The village's judgment. Chief Tafari raised his staff. Zola, or whatever you are, you cannot stay among us. You have deceived us all. You must leave this village and never return. The words struck Zola like a dagger to the heart. She turned to Nia, her mother, but Nia's face was twisted in agony. My daughter, Nia whispered, reaching out. But she knew nothing could change what had happened. Zola looked to Kwame, pleading with her eyes. Would he abandon her too? Would the man who had vowed to love her turn away now that she was a monster? Kwame clenched his fist. His mind was in chaos. Did it matter that she was not fully human? Did it change the love they had shared? His thoughts were interrupted as warriors stepped forward, spears raised. Zola hissed in pain, her heart breaking. She turned away. And with one powerful movement, she slithered into the dark forest, disappearing into the shadows. The choice. As the silence settled over the village, Baba Jomo stepped toward Kwame. She is gone, the elder said. Let her be. There is nothing you can do. But Kwame did not move. His eyes were locked on the forest where Zola had vanished. The memory of her, her laughter, her kindness, her love, it was all real. He knew that. There is always a way, he murmured. Baba Jomo sighed. If you follow her, you risk everything. The curse cannot be undone. Kwame turned to the elder, his jaw set with determination. Then tell me how. The trials of love. Kwame did not hesitate. He would not abandon Zola. With only his spear, a water god, and the cloth on his back, he set out into the dark forest, where the golden serpent had disappeared. Behind him, the village whispered. He is a fool. He follows a creature, not a woman. But Kwame did not care. He had made a vow. He would find Zola. And he would save her. The journey to the oracle. The forest was ancient, filled with shadows that moved, trees that whispered, and eyes that watched from the darkness. Kwame walked with careful steps, his grip firm on his spear. Hours passed. Then a cold wind swept through the trees, and a voice spoke. You seek what should not be found. Kwame spun around. Before him stood an old woman, draped in a cloak of woven leaves. Her eyes were silver, like moonlight on water. The oracle, he whispered. The woman tilted her head. Why do you seek me, warrior? Kwame knelt before her. I need to save the woman I love. The oracle studied him. Do you love her still, knowing what she is? She is not a monster. She is Zola. The oracle nodded. Then you must listen carefully. She waved her hand, and the air around them shimmered. Visions appeared, ghostly images dancing in the mist. Zola is bound by an ancient curse. Her human form was borrowed from the spirits, but now, the truth has returned. There is only one way for her to reclaim her humanity. Kwame leaned forward, his heart pounding. She must remain in her serpent form for 7 days and 7 nights, the oracle said. And during that time, she must not be abandoned. If she is left alone, she will be lost to the wild forever. Kwame swallowed hard. The oracle stepped closer. It will not be easy. She will feel the pull of the wild. She will doubt herself. You must remind her who she is. You must not leave her side. Kwame clenched his fist. I will do whatever it takes. The oracle sighed. Then go, warrior. Find her. And pray that your love is strong enough. With that, she disappeared, like smoke on the wind. Zola's struggle. Deep in the heart of the forest, Zola lay coiled beneath an ancient tree, her golden scales glowing dimly in the moonlight. Her body felt wrong. The weight of her long, coiled tail. The sharpness of her fangs. She had once been Zola, a woman of the village. But now, was she anything more than a beast? She heard the whispers of the forest. Give in. You are no longer human. Embrace what you are. A part of her wanted to. But another part, the small, flickering ember of hope, held on. Then, she heard footsteps. A familiar scent filled the air. Kwame. Zola lifted her head as he stepped into the clearing. His eyes held no fear. No disgust. Only determination. I found you, he said, breathless. She recoiled, her golden eyes narrowing. Why did you come? She wanted to ask. As if he could hear her, Kwame knelt beside her massive form. I told you, he said softly. I will not leave you. A long silence stretched between them. Then, for the first time since her transformation, Zola let out a slow, shaky breath. She was not alone. And maybe, just maybe, there was hope. The full moon rose high, casting its silver light over the village as Zola stood alone by the riverbank. The night air was still, filled only with the soft rustling of the leaves in the trees. It was the 7th night, the night when the curse that had kept her hidden for so long would finally come to an end. Kwame stood at a distance, his heart heavy with anticipation and love. He had stood by her through every trial, every transformation. The village had long been whispering about her, calling her a monster, but Kwame had always known the truth. She was a woman cursed, not a creature of darkness. Now, He waited for the final proof. Zola closed her eyes, breathing deeply, her body trembling as the first signs of the transformation began. The golden scales that had once covered her skin started to fall away, slowly and gracefully, as if they were a part of her soul being released. Her form began to shift, her body growing human again, her face returning to the shape he had first fallen in love with. It felt like an eternity had passed, but when she opened her eyes, Zola was no longer the serpent woman who had roamed the forest. She was herself again, a woman, whole and free, her beauty now matched by her true spirit. Kwame rushed to her side, his heart soaring as he held her in his arms. Tears welled in his eyes, but this time, they were tears of joy. "Zola," he whispered, his voice full of emotion. "You're free. The curse is gone." Zola smiled, her face glowing with the happiness she had dreamed of for so long. "It's over, Kwame. I'm no longer bound by that darkness." The village gathered in the distance, watching in awe as the woman they had once feared stood before them, no longer a monster, but a human like them. They had heard the tales of her curse, but they had never known the truth. Now, they saw the strength in her, the love that had broken the chains of magic and fear. Kwame turned to the village, standing tall as he called out. "This is Zola, the woman I love. The one who was cursed, yes, but not a monster. Never a monster." His voice was strong, filled with conviction, and the villagers fell silent, their eyes wide with understanding. As the truth settled in, the villagers began to step forward, one by one, offering their apologies, their hands outstretched in peace. Zola accepted their gestures with grace, her heart full of forgiveness. She had known their fear was born of ignorance, and now, she could see their regret. And so, under the moonlight, the curse was broken. The woman who had been lost to the world returned, and her love story with Kwame became one of legend. The wedding that followed was a grand celebration, filled with joy and music. The village came together to honor the love that had conquered darkness. Zola and Kwame were married, and their bond became a symbol of loyalty, faith, and the power of love to transform even the deepest of curses. As the years passed, their story was told to every new generation, a tale of hope and perseverance. And though they had faced unimaginable hardships, Zola and Kwame proved that love, in its purest form, could break any curse and overcome any obstacle. Their love story was no longer just a legend, it was a truth that lived on in the hearts of all who believed.